Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the American Red Cross National Headquarters, and thank you for joining us today, a day which we hope will mark a turning point in public awareness of a devastating human crisis. Diana, Princess of Wales, representing the British Red Cross, joins me today as we seek to raise awareness of this humanitarian crisis and to call for a ban on anti-personnel landmines as soon as feasible, using every venue possible. Tonight at a benefit dinner, we also seek to raise funds for rehabilitation of landmine victims. We urge all who share our compassion and profound concern to join with us. We call on every nation in the world to bring to a halt this deadly toll in human suffering. The many humanitarian services of the American Red Cross include meeting the needs of victims of approximately 60,000 disasters each year, training about 16 million people yearly in life-saving health and safety courses, providing half of America's blood supply, and transmitting approximately 4,000 emergency messages daily between members of our armed forces and their families. But the Red Cross has another mission that we share with every Red Cross and Red Crescent society worldwide: humanitarian assistance to the victims of war. Indeed, we meet today in front of a memorial to the men and women of the American Red Cross who have given their lives, often in the midst of combat, to save or protect the lives of others. It is this enduring commitment to protect the innocent victims of war that bring us here this afternoon. We of the Red Cross have declared our own war on landmines. Over a century ago, the home just across 17th Street was occupied by Abraham Lincoln. During the midst of the Civil War, Lincoln was urged by an advisor to take a few days' vacation from his overwhelming responsibilities. Lincoln declined, saying, "I sincerely wish war was a pleasanter and easier experience than it is, but it does not admit of holidays." Lincoln's words were true then, and they are even more chillingly true today. For as long as there are landmines, then our war on landmines will never admit of holidays. And the tragic fact is that today there are more than 120 million landmines strewn in trees and pastures, fields and villages in 70 countries. Long after combatants leave the field of battle, landmines continue their deadly work. Some 66 men, women, and children will be killed or maimed by anti-personnel landmines today, June 17th. One in every 236 Cambodians and one of every 60 inhabitants of Mozambique has suffered injuries in a landmine blast. For the most part, these victims are not soldiers in battle, but civilians. Farmers tilling the soil, families gathering firewood, children on their way to school. If this were taking place in Alabama, not Afghanistan, in California, not Cambodia, or in Michigan, not Mozambique, if on the back roads of England or America a false step could cost a leg, a life, a child, what we're about today would not be an admirable cause, it would be an urgent crisis. The detachment that comes from mileage and time zones is understandable, but it is not justifiable, because the value of life does not diminish with distance, and the cry of a child is no less wrenching because it is faint. The International Red Cross community, including the American Red Cross and the British Red Cross represented here today, has declared its profound opposition to the use of landmines. For more than 130 years, the Red Cross symbol has stood for hope and help for the victims of war. And today we make clear that the Red Cross also stands for the complete elimination of landmines. Through a global advocacy campaign led by the International Committee of the Red Cross, we seek to mobilize public opinion in support of a total ban on the manufacture, stockpiling, transfer, and use of anti-personnel landmines to be achieved as soon as feasible using all venues possible. We are also united, as I have mentioned, in a mission to increase assistance for mine victims. The ICRC has declared 1997 the Year of Assistance for Mine Victims. ICRC prosthesis and rehabilitation programs offer a chance for self-sufficiency to victims in 10 nations. The principal American Red Cross program is in Cambodia. Let me tell you about one man treated recently at that facility. After he lost a leg to a landmine, this gentleman had lashed a stick to what remained of his leg, and he could hobble slowly only by holding the stick with both hands. When he arrived at our facility, a crutch was immediately designed for him that freed up his other hand and allowed him to move almost as quickly as a person with two normal legs. The result has been both liberating and life-enhancing. Since 1991, the Red Cross Prosthetics and Rehabilitation Project has provided prostheses for more than 2,400 people and nearly 1,000 wheelchairs each year. That's a lot of new beginnings and new hope for Cambodian landmine victims. Behind the numbers I have mentioned this afternoon are real men, women, and children whose lives were changed forever by a landmine. I want to invite one of them, Ken Rutherford, to share a few words with us now. Ken? Thank you, Ken.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the American Red Cross and its president, Elizabeth Dole, for providing me this opportunity to speak on an issue that is very real to me and close to my heart. I'd also like to thank Kim Kong, who's sitting over there, a Cambodian landmine victim who the American Red Cross has invited to attend this conference. And most importantly, Diana, Princess of Wales, who I had the pleasure of speaking with last Thursday in London. She illustrates that one person can make a difference in this world. And for that, I'll be thankful. Today is a very lucky day for me. I received my first prosthesis for my left leg. My left leg was amputated 4 months ago, while my right leg was amputated 3 years ago. I was injured by a landmine in Somalia working on a relief mission with the International Rescue Committee on a project funded by our U.S. government. I was trying to help to alleviate the effects of famine and war in that country. Growing up in the United States, I had no idea about landmines. My experience with landmines, my first experience, lasted less than a split second. Instead of boring you with the details, I can only tell you that in the first few moments of the explosion, my life flashed before my eyes. About growing up in a country that provides opportunities for anyone with the mental capability to take advantage of them. Without limbs in the United States, one can't function. Unfortunately, this is not a story for most landmine victims. For example, the leg that I purchased this morning was over $7,000. While the UN estimates the average lifetime care of a landmine victim is $5,000. To date, over $300,000 have been spent on trying to save my life and rehabilitate it. Thankfully, my dreams have been realized that I thought about in the first few moments of the explosion. And that was marrying my girlfriend, having a family, and becoming a teacher. We got married, we have 2 young boys, and I'm in a teaching fellowship at Georgetown University. My dream is to become a professor. My dream could be realized because I live in a society that delivers for its disabled community. However, every day, I cannot imagine how those landmine victims in other countries and societies survive. As a parent myself, I am burdened every morning with the thoughts of are my children going to be affected by my disability? Again, thankfully, I was born in a country that has the resources to help those that are disabled. I used to think that I was the only landmine civilian victim in this country. However, over time, I've come to realize that landmines have touched more Americans directly and indirectly. Several Americans were killed in the Sinai Desert about a year ago. They were tourists. Jerry White, who is here today, lost his leg to a landmine in Israel as a college student. A relief worker colleague of mine, around 1 year after my accident, lost both her legs to a landmine while helping refugees in Goma, Zaire. In addition, over 64,000 American servicemen are casualties as a result of landmines in Vietnam. The horror behind that statistic is that most of those landmines were made in this country. While I was in Somalia, 8 Americans were killed by landmines. And in Bosnia, more than 250 UN and NATO soldiers have been maimed or killed by landmines. I'm grateful to the American Red Cross for highlighting the needs of landmine victims around the world. It is a subject that's been long overdue. On behalf of all landmine victims and their families and loved ones, I'd like to say thank you to the American Red Cross and its president, Diana, Princess of Wales, and all of you who are witnessing mass murder in slow motion. Without you, we'll be unable to help alleviate the effects of this cruel and indiscriminate weapon. We need to clean up landmines through demining now. We need to ban landmines now. And we need to help landmine victims now. When giving money through my credit union work in Somalia, I would say to each loan applicant that this money is from the people of the United States of America to help you with your lives, to get your lives started again. In the future, I would also like to say that Americans were instrumental in helping to set the standard in the fight against and in the fight for landmine survivors. Thank you.
Ken, thank you so much. God bless you for the tremendous work you're doing, making such a difference in the lives of so many, and for your tremendous compassion and inspiration. It is now, ladies and gentlemen, my privilege to introduce our special guest who joins us today as a representative of the British Red Cross. In some of the world's darkest places, Diana, Princess of Wales, has become the face of mercy for those afflicted with AIDS and cancer, for homeless youth, and for the victims of landmines with whom she visited on a journey to Angola. The Red Cross could not ask for a more effective or eloquent ally in our mission to bring to a halt this deadly toll in human suffering and to create a world where war finally takes a holiday. Diana, Princess of Wales.
Ladies and gentlemen, obviously I am more than happy to be here to lend support to the American Red Cross campaign to ban anti-personal landmines and to raise funds for the victims of these evil weapons. This visit to Washington for me is timely because next week representatives of more than 100 countries are expected to attend the International Conference for the Total Ban on Anti-Personal Landmines in Brussels. The conference, which is being hosted by the government of Belgium, is the official follow-up to the Ottawa Conference, which launched the Canadian initiative for an anti-personal landmine ban treaty by the end of 1997. My association with the landmine campaign began in January when I travelled to Angola with the British Red Cross and witnessed at first hand the devastating consequences that landmines can have on innocent civilians. The years of civil war in Angola have left behind a deadly legacy of 15 million mines scattered around the country with a population of 10 million. I met children who had suffered the most horrendous injuries, having stepped on mines which lay hidden in the grass around their villages, which resulted in many having had to have their legs or arms amputated. As they grow up, these children may need to have continuous operations as bones grow through the skin of amputated limbs. They may also become a burden to their own families, as most will have difficulty in making a living and may well be seen as social outcasts because of their disability.